Thoughts in a Garden by Andrew Marvell. Andrew Marvell was born on 31st March 1621 and died on 16th August 1678 at the age of 57. He was an English metaphysical poet, satirist, and politician who sat in the House of Commons at various times between 1659 and 1678. During the Commonwealth period, he was a colleague and friend of John Milton. His poems range from the love song to his coy mistress to evocations of an aristocratic country house and garden in upon Appleton House and the Garden, the political address, an Horatian ode upon Cromwell's return from Ireland, and the later personal and political satires Flecknoe and the character of Holland. Now let us read the poem The Garden. How vainly men themselves amaze to win the palm, the oak, or bays, and their incessant labours see crowned from some single herb or tree, whose short and narrow word shade does prudently their toils upbraid, while all flowers and all trees do close to weave the garlands of repose. Fair quiet, have I found thee here, and innocence thy sister dear? Mistaken long, I sought you then, in a busy companies of men. Your sacred plants, if here below, only among the plants will grow. Society is all but rude to this delicious solitude. No white nor red was ever seen, so amorous as this lovely green. Fond lovers, cruel as they flame, cut in these trees their mistress' name. Little, alas, they know or heed how far these beauties hers exceed. Fair trees, where's sere your barks I wound, now names shall but your own be found. When we have run our passion heat, love hither makes his best retreat. The gods that mortal beauty chase, still in a tree did end their race. Apollo hunted Daphne so, only that she might laurel grow, and Pan did after Syrinx speed, not as a nymph but for a reed. What wondrous life in this I lead! Ripe apples drop about my head, the luscious clusters of the vine upon my mouth do crush their wine. The nectarine and curious peach into my hands themselves do reach, stumbling on melons as I pass, ensnared with flowers I fall on grass. Meanwhile the mind from pleasures less withdraws into its happiness, the mind, that ocean where each kind does straight its own resemblance find. Yet it creates transcending these far other worlds and other seas, annihilating all that's made to a green thought in a green shade, here at the fountain's sliding foot, or at some fruit tree's mossy root. Casting the body's west aside, my soul into the boughs does glide. There like a bird it sits and sings, then wets and combs its silver wings, and, till prepared for longer flight, waves in its plumes the various light. Such was that happy garden state, while man there walked without a mate. After a place so pure and sweet, what other help could yet be meet? But it was beyond a mortal's share to wander solitary there. Two paradises were in one, to live in paradise alone. How well the skilful gardener drew of flowers and herbs this dial knew, where from above the milder sun does through a fragrant zodiac run. And as it works, the industrious bee computes its time as well as we. How could such sweet and wholesome hours be reckoned but with herbs and flowers? The real objective of Andrew Marvell in writing The Garden seems to have been to establish the superiority of a contemplative life over a life of action. True contemplation, according to the poet, is possible only in the green shade of a tree in a garden. A garden offers quiet and repose, and here only one can enjoy the pleasures of the mind and the soul, as well as the pleasures of the sense. A life of action, on the other hand, is futile, and men make a mistake in spending their time in feverish endeavors in order to win honors in different fields of life. The poem presents the beauty of a garden wonderfully. The Garden by Andrew Marvell illustrates the calm and pleasant beauty of a garden. The poetic persona seems to be walking in a garden one day. As he walks, he finds heavenly beauty emanating from the trees, herbs, and flowers. In this world where all things are prone to decay, the beauty of nature remains constant. The eternal beauty of the garden makes the poet thoughtful about the beauty of biblical paradise. It seems that the poet wants to say, heaven is here in this world, not there in your imaginary heaven. The poem progresses with its own pace like a man walking through a garden, waiting and feeding himself with what he observes. The scenic magnificence of the garden is an added gift with the description that the poet illustrates. The themes of the poem are natural beauty, poetic imagination, and spirituality. Here in the poem, Marvell seems to be a priest of nature. He finds himself in an ambience that gives a soothing sensation to his soul. He cherishes each moment in the slow journey through the garden. It is not that the subject matter of the poem only revolves around the garden. The poet captures nature as a whole, and the garden is a part of it. By using his poetic imagination, Marvell simply mesmerizes the readers. His illustration is a sculpture of his poetic imagination and genius. He goes beyond the stock metaphors and imagery. The metaphysical elements come along as he weaves his verse. He presents the worldly garden in a way that seems it is one of the heavens in the earth. As there are many such gardens, there are several other abodes on earth too. Last but not the least, the theme of spirituality comes knocking at the mind's door. The beauty of the garden helps the poet to attain a state of trance. The poem is nothing but a spiritual contemplation on the grace of the garden.